And welcome back to Business Risks 2020. I'm your co-host, Graham Dodge from Magic, joined here once again by Janet Ladd from Carroll Community College. And we are ready for another trivia battle. So please go to magic.cnf.io, click on the, or you can see here on the screen, you can also just take a picture of this QR code. It'll take you there on your mobile device. And you're going to get signed in. You'll have to enter your email, your name, and then you'll have to choose an avatar and a handle. And I'll give you all a few seconds here to get logged in. I know the first trivia battle, we had some people that showed up after the first question.
Yes, we did.
I apologize for that. So,
and I'm told it is winner take all, so the pressure is on for the top winner this go around.
That's right. Winner take all. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up the first question. Again, the topic is risky business, so this question may come as no surprise. For 100 points, 1983's teen comedy Risky Business stars Tom Cruise and which leading lady? Now, don't go on Google or IMDb. You're ruining the whole point of it. All right, let's go. Is it Rebecca De Mornay, Michelle Pfeiffer, Heather Locklear, or Molly Ringwald? Oh, and we have a much faster clock this time. Look at that.
Easier questions, right?
Easier question. All right. Oh, okay. Well, let's see. Most of you said Rebecca De Mornay, and you were correct. Rebecca De Mornay was the right answer. Let's see who is at the top of our leaderboard right now. Dean C. Very good, Dean. Congratulations. Let's open up the next question. There's 5 more questions here. All right. In 2014, Target suffered a major hack due to a network vulnerability for credentials by which type of vendor? Was it janitorial? Oops, we lost it. Was it janitorial, alarm security, point of sale systems, or HVAC? And you have 3 seconds. Oh, wow. Most of you thought it was point of sale. It was actually an HVAC vendor. Yeah, it was their HVAC vendor's credentials were stolen, and they used those credentials to hack into Target. All right, let's see who got that right. Any change? Oh, yeah, Dean, sorry. You've been dethroned by MW2. All right, now let's go to the next question. For 100 points, what does a risk manager do? Now, you guys have heard us talking about risk all day so far, and I'm sure we've discussed this role before. Let's see what the options are. Recommend investment opportunities, help create bucket lists, referee board games about strategy and war, or communicate risk policies and processes for his organization. All right, very good, 100%. I believe that is the correct answer, and it is. Yes, let's return to the leaderboard. Let's see who got that. Any change? Oh, MW2 is still on top. Kim S. is moving up the ranks into second place. All right, let's go back to the questions. We have 3 more questions here. All right, again, these are blazingly fast responses, so you only have 10 seconds to answer. Magic's Cyber Jobs initiative, which I mentioned at the top of the conference, to stimulate cybersecurity job growth in rural communities, is funded by which federal agency? Is it NASA, FBI, EDA, or USDA? Who would be funding such a thing? That's interesting, isn't it? All right, 67% said USDA, and that 67% was correct. So let's see who has moved up the leaderboard here. Oh, wow, okay, Kim S. Kim S is now number 1. Sorry, MW. You still have a couple more questions to regain your ranking there. All right, let's go back and if your business processes credit card payments, and we've talked about this a lot today so far, which information standard are you required to maintain compliance? So we've actually heard this in the previous discussion. Is it ISS, PCI DSS, Wisawigi, or OU812? And you have 3 seconds. Let's see. Some of you said Wisawigi. All right. And the correct answer was PCI DSS compliance. Let's see who answered that correctly and moved up in ranks. Oh, MW2 has moved back up. She's jockeying for first, and it's a heated race here. All right, let's go to the last question. Final question. Again, winner takes all. For another 100 points, who in an organization is ultimately responsible for managing information security risks? We also talked about this in the last legal discussion, so hopefully you were all paying attention. And we have 10 seconds starting now. Is it the cybersecurity contractor, board members, the CEO, owner, president, or a risk manager? What do you think? 3 seconds. Oh, half of you said CEO, and a third of you said risk manager. Well, those percentages don't add up. Let's see, the right answer was CEO, owner, and president. Yes, of course. So the ultimate responsibilities of the business owner. And let's go back to the leaderboard and see who is our big winner. And even though Dean moved up to second, MW2 is our winner.
All right,
So
way to
Janet,
go,
yeah,
MW.
what did
Again,
MW2 win?
we have 3 fabulous prizes. So the first one is a gift voucher worth $32 from Sinchar Farms. And they are centrally located in beautiful Hampstead, Maryland. They provide farm fresh eggs, produce, a petting zoo for the kids, and more. So we will send that out to you. The second gift card is worth $45. It's from Blossom and Basket Boutique. And the bag that you will receive comes in a variety of colors. And one of the things that the owner of this lovely boutique is suggesting is that you actually come on site so that you can pick out the bag of your choosing. Again, value of $45. And then, of course, we have already spoken about Jeannie Bird a number of times, and so you also receive a $25 gift card from Jeannie Bird. And I was told by a trusted resource that the cheddar and bacon scones are to die for. So,
well, and I'm partial to their new breakfast sandwich, which I've had a couple times since they've introduced it recently. I know Bernie, the owner, is very proud of where they're sourcing their ingredients from, which are all, farm to table, local, all organic, all natural ingredients. So, yes, I'm a big fan as well.
So congratulations, and again, huge thanks to each of our sponsors. We appreciate your support.
Yes, thank you, and congrats to MW2, who is the recipient of those prizes. And we have your email address, and we will coordinate with you to get you your prizes. All right, so we're actually up to our next presentation. We kind of consider this a flash talk. It's a little bit shorter than the keynotes. It will be presented by Angie Barnett, CEO of Better Business Bureau of Greater Maryland. She is an experienced chief executive officer with a demonstrated history of working in the nonprofit organization management industry, skilled in nonprofit organizations, strategic planning, business development, marketing strategy, and team building. Strong business development professional with BA, Master's Specialist Plus in Social Work and Sociology from Arkansas State University. Welcome, Angie Barnett.
Thank you. So glad to be here. The crowd's roaring. Yay! So I know it's an odd thought. What does Better Business Bureau got to do with cybersecurity? So let me answer a couple of really quick questions. One, yes, we are PCI compliant. We do have policies and procedures to ensure we are, because we do credit card processing. Yes, I am responsible as a CEO should anything go wrong. And yes, as I'm going to speak about in just a second, we have cybersecurity insurance. So I have been paying attention, and we have gone through the NIST 5-step program as well. So I'll talk about some of our things, but I think the topic that you offered me was talking about hacking. And upon reflection, and with your permission, I'm really going to talk about our experience as a Better Business Bureau. We are a nonprofit, but our primary source of doing business with the public across the US, Canada is the internet. And so the internet and everything we do to aggregate data across the US and Canada and connect with all Better Business Bureaus, process complaints, reviews, all the information, it's all a digital environment. And everything we do, our product now is basically an online. So some of the things about hacking that I would have talked about, you all know about the major ones, Equifax. We know about some of the reasons some of these things happened, the involvement or engagement possibly of overseas, all kinds of things. But I'd like to talk about what's happened to BBB. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen and do a really quick PowerPoint for you. I hope. And I'm trusting that everybody can see this. So I'm actually going to say BBB has been hacked. And I want to talk about our recovery, our responsibility, and what we do. So as a fireside speed talk, this is what I'd like to share with you. So, and 3 times in the last decade, and now that I think about it, I'm probably going to go within the last 5 years. Here are 3 things that have happened to BBB. One of the most jarring ones, we, Better Business Bureau, our local BBB located here in Baltimore, we were under siege of a bot attack, and it was devastating. The biggest loss was for 20 employees. We actually lost productivity. We could not access not just the internet, but all of our databases in which our information lies. And the cost of having our IT providers here on site for 2 days, which included one overnight, that they were here just fighting this battle. So that was a pretty devastating one to us. Lots of lessons learned, some of which you cannot necessarily control. You can only be best prepared to handle. So as a business owner and or as a vendor, this capacity to be always aware, prepared, and responsive, that was critical. And we would not have survived this. We probably would have lost a lot of our data, our systems crashing, had it not been for the incredible IT vendor that we have under contract services. So we also had a hack attack. I had an employee who was working remote telecommuting, and she was using her personal computer for work purposes. So her account, all her contact information, everything was hacked, and immediately emails started going out to that contact list, which included our contacts as a Better Business Bureau. So these are, businesses all across the state of Maryland, consumers from everywhere. They started receiving emails that appeared to be from us asking for personal information. So, and then our third one that is ongoing but has spiked tremendously, scammers are using Better Business Bureau's logo, our name, as a way to phish. And the consequence to that, not lost time, not dollars, not anything, but actually the biggest one to me is our customers' trust was eroded as a result of some of these. And that to me is one of the biggest losses, is when people begin to think, is this email really from Better Business Bureau? Does this really matter? And the loss of that trust, you really can't put a full dollar figure to. So our solutions, throughout these last 5 or 6 years, BBB created an RFP for our IT services. And I will say we as a business, as a small business, let me say I have 21 employees. We are a small business, but outside of salaries, benefits, marketing, digital marketing dollars, my IT and all related costs are my third largest expense. And this does include number two, cybersecurity insurance. But we actually created an RFP. We've issued it twice now. And our focus was really on quick, immediate responses, full disclosure of fees, upfront investment and protection and maintenance of our hardware and our upgrades on our software. So we spent money. We have 2 layers of cybersecurity insurance. So I always say to small business, invest what you can to ensure that your most important asset, your customers' data, is well protected. Our personal, as a small business, we establish strict telecommuting policies using both HR protocols. So I went to an HR professional to help me write the policies and agreements, and our IT vendor, the very vendor we used, they submitted protocols and requirements to say, if you want us to provide service to you, these are the things your employees have to agree to. So that telecommuting policy has been rewritten, if I'm not mistaken, 3 different times just in the last year, because as we moved the pandemic and we moved to a remote workplace, these policies became very apparent to us. We actually now require all, and this is crazy, and this, but I've gotten a lot of comments on this. We require all our employees to actually utilize BBB's computer and software for all daily work. That is so our IT providers, our vendors can do maintenance, go in and do updates on those off hours and ensure that those computers and the software being used is as protected as humanly possible. So that's been an interesting twist. I don't hear that from a lot of businesses or all businesses. And I even threw in, if you need a desk chair, take your office desk chair, because we want you to be comfortable in the home environment as well. So we threw in, if you will, the kitchen sink. But that is a requirement. We invest in KnowBe4 phishing tests monthly. So our staff receive phishing tests. And it's simply, we'll receive emails and do I open it, click on a link? What do I do with it? And we all have the phishing hook. And so when I get something that's suspicious, I send it immediately to my KnowBe4 by forwarding it through that phishing hook, and let IT professionals look at that information and determine, was that phishing, and is it something we should be aware of? So, and we also lastly issue alerts to media's partners and any of our businesses involved, consumers. We want to be fully transparent. So once we go to the IT vendors, if in some cases we run it by our lawyers, and then we also are very transparent. So, and using our BBB's name and logo and phishing scams, listen, we put that out in social media. We put that out with the news media. We let people know this is occurring because we want to address exactly where I started. And that is that whole concept of losing my customers' trust. So those are some of the things that we did in response to our own hacking or our own cyber risk management. And so I wanted to speak from a personal experience as a small business owner. But in addition, and lastly, to wrap up my few minutes with you guys, and again, thank you so much for allowing BBB to be part of cybersecurity discussion, why it's important to Better Business Bureau. We actually have 8 standards of trust. These are business concepts, but mostly business behaviors that, when carried out in the most highest regard, generates and creates trust with the customer. And why is that important? You want your customers to really have trust in you as a business owner. And if you're an IT vendor, you want us as businesses to trust you. If you are a business, you need your customers and your employees to have trust in you. Business is higher, faster, and generates in what am I trying to say? Recurring revenue. There's 1,000 things about trust and why it's important. But we have a standard 7, that is specific to standards for trust, safeguard, privacy. So when we are examining businesses, and by that I mean BBB, when a customer gives reports to BBB through a review or a complaint, a customer experience, or a business actually applies for accreditation, we look at are they adhering to standard 7, safeguard privacy. And this is very simple. It's what you've been talking about all day long. Protecting any data collected against unauthorized disclosure and fraud. So we look at, does a business disclose in their website or any of the items provided to their customers? Do they disclose how they handle personal information? So what information they collect, how it's used, who it's shared with, how is it secured, how they would know policy changes are being made and how that's communicated, and how we would address concerns of misuse of personal data. So it's really important that information, and I always suggest post this on your website so that there's transparency and full disclosure of what you believe you would do to safeguard the privacy of your customers. We look very closely to ensure that sensitive data such as credit card, any information provided by your customers is collected, transmitted via secure means. So we are always looking to for every visible symbol you can see, whether it's the padlock, a security certificate. We will ask for those things, and we actually run scans for our accredited businesses specific to letting them know when their security certificates may be expiring, so they are constantly renewing. But that is a critical and important thing to do, is that you want your customers to have trust by seeing these indicators that their information is, or the sensitive information provided, personal identifying information, it is encrypted and it is protected to the best of our abilities. And that's always important. And lastly, respect customer preferences for how they want to be contacted. And that leads me to say, I always say to businesses, if you're a legitimate business, please put your contact information, who they would contact with regards to your privacy standards, who they would contact for customer service, shipping, all those questions. Please put that on there, because I can tell you the red flag in all scams that we look at is always that inability to contact a business. So that's just a little simple statement to make. As I mentioned, BBB has aligned with the National Cybersecurity Alliance through a partnership, and they used the 5-step method. They created a curriculum in which BBB staff were actually trained. We partner up with IT vendors, and we go out to small businesses and walk through the 5 steps for improved cybersecurity. So I'm sure all of you are very familiar, but you always begin with your identifying your assets, protect your assets, detect incidents, have a response plan, and normal, how you're going to recover to and get back to normal operations. And this very plan has helped me in the times that our business has been hacked or breached. So I always want to recommend to small businesses and as IT vendors that you are using the simplest way to educate businesses about what is cybersecurity and what are their responsibilities to do so. And BBB is a partner to help provide that education. So lastly, I just wrap up my few minutes with you and say, I encourage everybody connect with your BBB. That's BBB Greater Maryland, and you can do so through bbb.org. And of course, we connect to the national information, stopthinkconnect.org, and that's the resource that we use. So that's my 2 cents. And I really, really thank you guys for giving me a platform to share a little bit about how Better Business Bureau, Greater Maryland, your BBB is engaged in the area of cybersecurity.
Thank you very much, Angie. That was very insightful. And we do have some questions for you from our live Q&A. Again, if you want to ask Angie questions, go to magic.cnf.io. Janet, you want to go ahead and...
I do. I love this one. Angie, we have a question. It says, perhaps a silly question, Angie, but how did you first discover that you had been hacked?
Oh, each and every, well, not the bot attack, because you knew that immediately when everything started going down. But on the being hacked, somebody sent us an email and said, is this from you? And we went, what? So the discovery was not... in both cases, the discovery was from a customer or someone reporting it to us, and we were able to intervene immediately. But yeah, self-reporting from somebody who received it.
Great. Thank you.
And what do you look for in your IT vendor? I imagine it's them being in good standing with BBB, right?
Yeah, that's very helpful, of course. But we really did, we looked at accessibility. We checked with references to make sure that if something comes up, what is the time lag before they respond to us? I have found consistently over the 6 years of this heavy investment that response time. If something happens, if something goes down, if we have a question, how quickly do they get to us? And I wanted to talk to customers to get their experience. So response time was important. We also looked at fees. So what would they charge us for all the incidentals that we might have? And that would be emergencies or needing to go in and do updates. So what were the actual fees? So fee disclosures, everything about response time, because if you have a problem and your IT vendor is not going to respond for an hour or 2 hours, you have lost incredible time. So that has been very, very important to us in those two critical things, transparency of fees and response time, and checking all of that with references.
Great, thank you. So this next question, Angie, how do you know if a BBB member is a target of fraud? So for example, fraudulent reviews or hacks?
Yeah, and that's I don't think there's any way we can know. What we can do is we look at business's website. We're looking for terms and conditions. We're looking at all their disclosures. If they're using cookies, do they have security certificates? Do they, how can you, everything I said, but we look at the business's behaviors. And then the second layer, the only way we would know a business was hacked is a customer experience is reported to BBB about that business. But a lot of our businesses will let us know they're a victim of identity theft. Somebody is phishing, the scammer is phishing. They're using their business's name or their business's website. We will post that and say, alert, alert, you've got to be careful because somebody is posing as this business and they're really not from that business. If you have a question, contact them. So we're always looking at businesses' behavior, and it's what you can see and what's reported by customer experiences.
Great.
And, being that you've been through the phishing experience as someone who has pretended to be BBB, Was there any kind of international legal recourse? Like, who do you call? You can't just call the police, right? So who?
I'm dying to say Ghostbusters, but yeah, no, there's not, as everybody knows, when it comes to scammers, those whose actions are intended to cause harm, to gain personal identifying information from victims. Those individuals are generally, most often, they are not located in the United States. They are most often in a foreign country, and it requires incredible effort, as you are aware, by the FTC, local governments, federal governments, coordinating with others to shut these down. And for us right now in the pandemic, our biggest challenge are all the fake websites. So as soon as you get something shut down, a new one, pops up. And the same is true of phishing. When people use our name and logo, that's generally not a legitimate business. It's a scammer, and going after them is, sadly, in our experience, yes, we have a real huge legal team for bbb.org. And yes, you try, but there's virtually nothing you can do. It's an uphill battle.
Yeah, very scary indeed. So this last question, and it's actually a kind of a good segue to our next panel discussion as well. But Angie, the question is, how did you determine how much insurance was enough for you? And if you have advice for how companies would determine how much insurance is enough for them?
Excellent. And for us, we get support through our association, the International Association of BBBs. So they help us with the starting point to make sure. So all BBBs across the U.S. and Canada are. But for the purpose of, as a business, I do have my own business insurance locally. I do have my own cybersecurity policy locally. And it was simply going through the 5-step process and identifying what are all my assets that are at risk, and what data do I have and what opportunities are there for. So establishing my risk and then ensuring that I had cybersecurity insurance that was equal to my risk and my potential losses. And those losses are loss of productivity, but those losses also include any legal matters that are litigious behaviors that others might fall. So working with your insurance providers, but they worked in partnership with our IT vendor and us. So it was a 3-way partnership.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you. Always full of good information, Angie. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. Thank you for the wonderful questions, and it was quite an honor. So thank you so much.
Great.
Well, it was our pleasure.